Welcome to Drum and Drummer, a podcast focused on drums, drumming and drummers. I'm George Pickering and that's Ben Winty, and we are both professional drummers in this business we call music. So stick around and join us as we pass the time whilst trying to stay in time.
And I just thought I'd bring that up right now. Baruja.
Thank you, Ben.
Sega.
Oh yeah, nice.
Sonic the Hedgehog t-shirt.
That's cool. Let's see the whole thing. What's
Try not to reveal
nice.
nipple.
No, that would be awful.
More
Christ.
like fat belly. Sonic, innit?
Yeah, it's Sonic. For those listening, as everyone is, Ben is showing me his Sonic the Hedgehog shirt.
Yeah, got this in
Very nice.
Orlando, Florida, baby.
Did you?
Florida, one of many, many t-shirts.
I like
picked
that
up.
you seem to do all your clothes shopping for all of time when you go to Florida.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best way, and I'll tell you
Yeah.
for why. I'll tell you for why,
Yeah.
George.
Please, please.
The state of the British High Street, as you know, absolute disarray in it. It's absolute disarray. I've got a particular shape to me. I'm what you describe as top heavy. You know, I've got tennis players' legs, darts players' torso, and a
butternut squash for the head.
and a butternut squash for the head. So, I can be as a man who's uncomfortable not only in his own skin, but in the clothes he surrounds the skin with. When I find something I like, I'm very particular about the fit. You know,
Yeah,
I'm not like you. Slap anything on, you look good. Do you know what I mean?
that's very sweet of you.
It is very sweet of me, but it's true. You got that sort of frame, innit? That little
I do
pigeon-chested
now.
boy
Now
frame.
I'm CrossFit every day.
It's CrossFit every day.
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. Anyway, so I also feel like if you walk into, I'm sure many men of my age, we are at that point.
Yeah, I'm nearly 40. Where do you buy your clothes?
Yeah.
Where do you buy your clothes? You know, you go in H&M, it's the blandest fucking lot you've ever seen.
And it's for young lads with curly hair flopping forward.
Yeah.
The cauliflower cut.
You know, there's nothing for butternut squashers on a frog. You don't. That's not their target market.
No.
You know, and then you're also looking, if you want anything good, it costs money. So what I'll do is I'll go to the States. Sure, I'll go to Disneyland, but I'm really there to just stock up on t-shirts. And you go Walmart, mate. It's all cool stuff like Sonic.
So,
Yeah.
but right. Well, so is it? It's not the size that's different. It's the what you're getting on the shirt. Is it? You're saying?
I think it's a combo, but I think it also gives me these t-shirts evoke positive memories. They invoke a positive experience. I got this t-shirt in Florida. I got this t-shirt in New York. I got this t-shirt, in Reading. You know what I mean? Like, nah. But
Did you watch that reel I sent you?
no, I haven't watched it yet.
I have. Sorry to change the subject. There's an Instagram reel that I watch every day because it's for some reason the funniest thing. For the last week, I've watched it every single day. I can quote it off by heart as well. There's a man. He's one of those like just ask people questions on the street, and he says to this guy, he goes, "Excuse me, sir, what are you doing on Maidenhead today?" He's like, "Pardon?" He's like, "Why are you in Maidenhead?" He goes, "Oh, I've come to see my friend." He said, "Oh, do you like Maidenhead?" He says, "It's not bad. Not like Reading." And he like turns to the camera. He does this amazing like David Brent office thing. Honestly, it's the funniest video I've ever seen in my
I will
life.
watch it before the outro. I'll watch it in our
Okay, cool.
little break.
Sorry, I heard the word Reading and my brain just went to that.
That's fine.
Did you get a
Maybe
nice
that's where I
shirt
got
in
it
Reading?
from. Nah, I just
Maybe.
plucked that out on the top of the dome. But maybe that's why,
Because I saw this morning you'd sent me something about Reading.
Maybe.
And
Maybe.
it's stuck in there. But no, I think even with things like my Acrolite and my new beats, there's something a little bit more special. I got them somewhere interesting.
Yeah.
And it invokes those positive feelings about those holidays.
I
It's
agree.
usually a bit cheaper
over there.
as well. We've got a guest. today.
Yep. You do.
I've got some stuff. I've got a little bit to talk about. I'll talk about the end, so stick around.
Yeah.
Stick around for sure. Don't go nowhere.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing your washing up or cleaning the car, whatever you're doing while
Driving
listening
to
this.
work. That's the
Driving
main
to
one,
work or cycling to work. Save the planet. Or
Yep.
even if you just sat still and you just sat down and you really.
Yeah.
Do people
you're
do
using
that?
this
Do people do that with
meditation.
podcasts? Is the whole podcast
What, just
industry?
sit?
Yeah. Is it built on helping people get through mundane tasks? Because you speak
Yeah, I
to Neil,
think
he's
so,
like, I
yeah,
pop on a
yeah.
podcast while I'm hanging the washing out. It stops me from
Yes.
killing myself. It stops
Yeah.
me from the invasive thoughts of the monotony of life crushing
Yeah.
me down to ash. But does anyone just like sit down and go, I'm going to listen to this podcast and just sit there and listen?
I don't know.
I'm sure it's something it's for something on the go. So if you're on the go, be safe. Don't crack up too hard and crash or drop a play.
It's weird, isn't it? Sorry, I've got to stay on this topic because it's like if you listen to a record, I think with vinyl, maybe you
It's
could
a
just
bit
put
more
on a
a listening
vinyl
thing,
and
yeah.
just listen. Whereas if you get the same album on Spotify, I don't think, even if you've got speakers, you would just sit there and listen. I don't
There's
know.
something visceral about opening
Yeah.
the vinyl and putting it on the
Yeah.
thing.
Ooh,
Whereas you just
Arctic Monkeys, yeah, Foo Fighters.
yeah.
Love all
Whereas you
that.
just search for it on your phone. There's
Yeah.
nothing in it. It's a problem. It's a problem in the music industry. Anyway, what's not a problem in the music industry is Matty Roberts, who we've got on the show today.
No, he's not.
He in a little bit of a crossing of worlds. We've got Matty runs drum master classes and clinics. He put them on in his home in North Wales. But he also has a podcast called the Percussion Discussion Podcast. Now he has interviewed the greats, and now we are interviewing the man who interviews the greats. So in a sense, we've now interviewed all those people as well. Do you know what I mean? If Man City win the Champions League and then you beat Man City, then you're the best team in the world, basically. That's how it works.
I inspired the man that inspired 1,000 people. Imagine that, 1,000 people.
Yeah. What was it? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. So yeah, we've got him on. We're chatting things drums. We're chatting things podcasts. Shall we just dive straight in?
Let's dive straight in.
That's Tom Daly. It. Here we go. Here's our chat with Matty Roberts from the Percussion Discussion Podcast.
First of all, I like the amount of kick pedals you got in the back.
Yeah, all vintage ones. I don't normally sound like this, by the way. As you can see, I'm getting over the flu. I always look like this, but I don't sound like it. Yeah, I collect vintage pedals from, I think 1919 is the oldest one.
Wow.
Yeah, going right through to maybe early 80s. It's easier to store than drums, believe it or not.
Where did that come about then?
I don't know, just weird. There's one up there. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, the one with the picture behind it. That's but from a drummer. Are you familiar with a drummer called Clem Catini?
No.
Clem is the most recorded drummer in UK history. He's had something like 48 UK number ones. And that's the pedal he played on pretty much all of them. So I was lucky enough to buy it from him. So, and then it, kind of spiraled from there, really.
That's
So
amazing.
good. Yeah.
I love that. Surely
Cool.
if it's 1920s, that's, I'm trying to remember the history of the drum kit, but that's surely when
really early
the
one.
drum kit was starting.
Yeah, let's just find this is, I think that's about 1922, something like that.
Wow.
You wouldn't want to use it now, but it still functions, just about.
That's
I just
amazing.
Who's that made by?
That's Ludwig, believe it or not, if you can see
Oh my
it.
God.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And people think they're going to be really expensive. They're not. They're not like Ludwig drums.
Does that say, what was the date on that? Sorry?
I think that's about 22, that one.
Oh, wow.
I think. But it's pretty early.
Yeah.
And then, I like, all weird and wonderful stuff. And it's just a nice,
Awesome.
it's a nice talking point as well when we do things like this.
Yeah.
People go, "Oh, what's all that junk there?" As my wife would call it. Yeah. So there we are.
Love it.
Well, it's nice to be
Fantastic.
here anyway.
Yeah, thanks for doing this.
It's a pleasure.
Ben, where should we begin?
Well, you sent George a message when they were sorting this out, and you sort of listed a lot of the things you'd sort of done, your drum
Yes.
clinics, BDC TV, and you've had 153 of the biggest drummers on earth on your own podcast.
Correct. Yeah.
And I thought I'd start with a little joke, and we'll come on, and you can make it an even round 155.
Perfect. Perfect.
So let's start with. Well, I think the first thing is I was googling you to see
Ooh.
what's going on, and the first thing that came up was that you're a singer,
Yeah, that's strange, isn't it? Not today.
and I was fully expecting drums.
Yeah.
So
That's
you were
ki-
dual man of two trades in that respect.
Do you know I've played drums since I was 10 or 11, and then I got to about, I don't know, 18, 19. I joined a great little band, and they needed backing vocals. I said, "Don't look at me, I can't sing." And well, it was evident that I could sing a bit, and then I kind of got the bug for it, and I stopped playing for 2 years, 3 years, and I kept my kit, thankfully. And so I really got into the singing. And then I thought, that's great. I don't need to carry equipment around anymore. And next thing, I've got full PA, lights, trailer, and drums. So I've got literally everything going on now. And since then, it's been a healthy mix of both. Singing gigs are generally better paid than drumming gigs. So but I think I'd still rather be behind the kit. That's my thinking on it anyway.
Is there anything you've sort of taken from either world into the other?
Not sure. I mean, if I'm in a band and there's a drummer who perhaps I know what I want from that drummer, put it that way. And you don't want somebody overly busy. You don't want a chop fest behind you as you're trying to play Let's Stay Together by Al Green and somebody shredding away in the background, you know? So I don't know. I'd like to think a bit of musicality from me on the drums from singing as well, and being a bit more aware of what the singer wants and needs, if that makes sense. Dynamics.
It does make sense.
Massively, you know? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I was saying to Ben before we did this, I was talking about how, I play gigs on bass with Ben sometimes, and it's funny how I think it does make you a better drummer in that what you've said, you're going, oh, actually, no one cares about the chops. It's just give me the kick and snare a lot of the time. And I think also, yeah, you learn, oh, actually it's if I don't know, I remember, playing gigs on bass and then going back to drums and simplifying a lot of things. And I don't know if it's the same, sounds like it's the same with you going, oh, if I'm singing and maybe you've got a drummer who's doing something that is throwing you off, you go back to drums and go, actually, I'm not going to do that as much.
That can happen, but it can happen in I work with a big band, and we occasionally do strict tempo gigs, which is like ballroom essentially. So you'll be used to playing a song with a backbeat behind you, just a regular, 4/4 rock beat, what have you. Could be anything, Stevie Wonder, whatever. And to make it fit the dance, the sequence, whatever, they'll put a rumba to it, and it's so off-putting. Hearing, and you're like, whoa, you're used to counting bars with just a backbeat, and all of a sudden you've got all this stuff going on, and it's quite unnerving, and there can be quite a lot of people there. And we've done it where there's been like 1,000 people dancing in ball, all ball gowns, and you're like, and I'm sitting there going 1, 2. It doesn't look good when you're trying to count bars, but there we are. So yeah, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. Mm.
So what sort of things have you done as a drummer?
As a drummer, well, I'm a reading drummer. I'm not really a rock player. I don't have a chop to my name. I'm not against them by any means, but I just too lazy to kind of learn them. And for a while, I've been in kind of classical crossover world, should I say. And now you're both younger than me. There was a guy called Rydian who won the X Factor. I think it was some way back. Blonde hair, did like
I
classical
remember
stuff.
him.
Yeah, well, I was his drummer for a while. Did a couple of tours with
Okay.
him and a few other guys, Richard and Adam, and it's theatre stuff. That's lots of stuff like that. And then in the last few years, I've been, tribute bands have kind of got a little bit more professional, and they'll get parts written out, and tracks is a standard thing these days. So I filled in for, countless tributes from, let me just try and think of a few now: Coldplay, Killers, Tom Jones, Neil Diamond, Robbie Williams, Elton John, the list goes on. And it's always lastminute.com, the drummer can't make it. Oh, we'll ring him, he'll do it. And it's turn up. And I love it. It's seat of your pants. Turn up, you get the dots maybe 20 minutes before going on. It's usually a backline kit. And as I'm going on, I'm like, well, how many clicks are there before I start? Are the clicks, that's all I care about. Are the clicks clearly noted? Do you need the clicks, or is everybody on ears? So, yeah, that's the kind of stuff I do. I've got a gig tonight, and I have no idea what it is or who it's with or anything. I know I've got to be in Birmingham for 5:30. That's all I know. So, who knows?
Amazing.
That's a good question about the clicks. And I played with a band filling in, and each song was different.
Oh.
Each song either the drums weren't in at the top, but the click started when the band started, or this one had a 4-bar count, or this one had the click was in double time but had an 8. And you're like, just make it the same every song.
It needs that. You've got to be fair. I mean, if it's not too bad if the whole band is having click, but I'm sure you found it where certain band members, I don't want click, and I don't mind counting the band in, providing I know exactly where those first 2 bars are. Is it one? Or is it a bar for the drummer and a bar for the band? If you know what I mean. That's great. That's the obvious way. So I did a gig a couple of weeks back, and thankfully the charts were really well notated, and the first 2 bars were actually written where the click was. So it was like an extra 2 bars. So it was so obvious. It was a joy. Put it that way.
Yeah. That's what you want. You want to feel safe. I always find as well, there's been a few bands I played with and someone else does the playback. This is me saying it's not my fault. And the click will be different volumes, so you'll start one song, it's like, you're like, Jesus Christ, and you turn it down, the next one you can't hear it. And I just found that's annoying, because especially if you're on click anyway, it's, I won't say stressful enough, but it's like, it's something to think about. And you don't want to be deafened by it as well.
No,
But,
no. I mean, a click is God, as they say. It's nothing truer. And a lot of the gigs these days, the MD will often say, bring a spare iPad and download this whatever app that the front of house is using, and you get control. And I quite like that. It makes it kind of takes the stress off them. And then if you get it wrong, it's kind of your fault, isn't it? It's not anybody else's. Yeah, because the click volumes vary constantly. Not if people have had parts done or charts done, tracks done at different times by different people, they're going to be different. Just take that as read, don't you?
do you enjoy the music of all the tribute bands you play for, or are there some bands that you're like, not Tom
No.
Jones again? Or do you like them all?
No, you tolerate it and you have to give it the respect that it deserves. And I like a lot of it, to be fair. I did a Neil Diamond tribute in a couple of big theatres over the summer, and I didn't realize how many great songs he'd had over the years. And and that was a stressful one, because the first one was the band basically didn't make the sound check, and it was a 1,500 seat theatre, and there was only me and the keyboard player there. They got stuck in traffic, and so it's 10 to 7. The doors opened at 7, and it was like, okay, but it was good fun. It was great, really, really good, and we got through it without any disasters.
Let's move on to your podcast, Percussion Discussion. I'll say one more thing as well. I got a message from Jordan Perugia a while back, because you were at the UK Drummer Show.
I was.
And you said his name to him in the way that Ben says his name. And
Perugia.
I just thought I'd bring that up right now. Perugia.
Thank you, Ben. Yes, I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. Sorry.
No, of course not. Right, so percussion discussion. I mean, the names of the drummers you've had, try not to suck up to you too much, but it's astounding. I mean, Chad Smith was episode 5 or something, and Steve Gadd, and I mean, I'm not going to list them all, but yeah, it's amazing. I think I didn't want to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it, and we can cut it out. How do you go about getting guests?
Well, when it started out, I put on, I'm sure we'll talk about this later on, but I put on drum clinics and masterclasses and things like that. And when the pandemic hit, I was worried that all the work I'd done would lose its traction and people forget what I do. So I thought, well, I'll just speak to a few people who I've put things on with and just do little interviews just to keep the Facebook page alive. And so I intended on doing 5 or 6 at the most, and that was that. And once I'd exhausted those 5, people were saying, it's really good. I'm enjoying this. There's nothing else to do in lockdown. Let's get on. And so it's a good time to be approaching drummers when there's nothing happening. Obviously, there's nothing better to do than this. So I started off just literally emailing, Facebook messaging, Instagram messaging. And thankfully, 1 or 2 were like, yep. Fine. Some people just ignore it. That's fine. Also, who am I? Why should they do my podcast? And then I hit a bit of luck. The drummer from Free and Bad Company, Simon Kirk. Are you familiar with him? Yeah, I'm sure you've played All Right Now. So
yeah. No, the bands, yeah.
Yeah. And I sent his, I think it was his management, an email, fully expecting it just to go into the trash and forget all about it. Because he's in New York, he's obviously a British guy originally. He got back to me the next day himself, said, I've never done a podcast. This would be really fun to do. Can we do it tomorrow afternoon? Excuse me, sniffing as well. I do apologize. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So we did it. And he said, oh, can I help? And I wasn't too sure what he meant by help, offering to help. I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm glad you've enjoyed it anyway. And so I left it at that. And then over the next 2 or 3 days, I had emails from Chad Smith, Liberty DeVito. Let me think of some of the others. There's some huge, Nico McBrain. I must have had 15 emails. He basically gone around all of his friends and said, look, you need to be on this podcast. Nick Mason from Pink Floyd. And I was kind of pinching myself. I was like, is this really happening? And So Simon,
wow.
to this day is been like a massive ally, a massive ally to me. I'll tell you a little story. On Christmas Eve, I woke up, and I don't know about you guys, but I always check my phone, emails first thing, just see what's going on. And I sort of smiled, and my wife said, oh, what is it? I said, my first 2 emails, I said, get this, is from Nick Collins and Simon Kirk. She went, who are they? I was like, forget it, doesn't matter. And it was bless him, it was Simon wanting to wish me a Merry Christmas and offering me another guest, which he's tried to get for me. So it's like that. So, and then you know how it is. You'll get guests on and they say, oh, I'll get you this guy. You should have this guy. And so it's been, and now I'm finding it easier now. I've got the names that I've got because I've had most of the big names. People tend to come across a little bit easier. They're like, oh, okay, well, he did it. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. There's still some who blankly ignore you. Some don't want to do podcasts. Some haven't got the time. Some don't need to do them, and I understand that. So yeah.
Do you ask questions that you want to know about, or do you ask questions that you think people will want to know about?
I don't actually. I don't know if this is ridiculous or not, but I don't actually write any questions down. I write a few if I'm a little unsure of the drummer, I'll write a few bullet points, just things that they've achieved, things that they've played on, just random things. But I like to, I'm a great believer in letting the conversation just go where it goes. And, I've talked to drummers in huge bands before now, and we've not actually talked about the band that they play in. We've just gone about their playing philosophies and different things, and we've gone off on a total tangent. We get to the end of the interview. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mention the band. And he's like, no, it's great. He said, this is not normal for me. So I don't plan. And that's sometimes when you get real little nuggets that you weren't expecting, and perhaps they weren't expecting to give. If that makes sense. So no, I don't go in. There's no real plan. It's free flowing, goes where it goes.
Do you get nervous at all?
Got nervous with Chad Smith because it's Chad Smith, you know.
Yeah.
I remember it was. I think it was. Yeah, it was a summery day, and I was sat where I'm sitting now, and it just said Chad Smith is in your waiting room, and I was like, God, this can't be right. Can't be right. And I thought, this is a joke. It's going to be one of my mates sitting there, you know, when a screen appears. And no, it was Chad, and he's just a gent. And he said, how you doing? All right. And I said, I'll be honest, I'm a bit nervous. And he went, well, we'll just talk for 10 minutes before you hit record. We'll be fine. And he was absolutely brilliant. And that's the only time I've ever really got nervous. I think Chad was 25 or something like that. Not years old, 25, 25th guest, if you like.
Oh, was he? I thought he was.
No, he was
soon in.
Yeah, he was a bit later on than that. He was one of the ones that Simon Kirk got for me. So, yeah,
fair.
amazing.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to the point with the podcast where maybe it had become something different than you set out? Had you envisaged it being a podcast from the start? And have you made any sort of changes over the years as you've gone on and done it?
That's a good question. When I started out, I didn't listen to podcasts, I'll be honest. So I didn't really fully understand what it was. So I just did it on YouTube for the probably first 10, maybe more. And I thought, oh, how do I get it out to a few more people? And then I thought, well, I'm reasonably tech savvy. I can use Logic and find my way around different things. So I then stripped all the audio from the YouTube videos, and then I worked out with a bit of help from a few people how to host podcasts and, you know, what to use, what to do. So and then I thought, well, do I get rid of the video element of it? Because I don't know. Do you put yours on YouTube as well?
We put the audio on YouTube.
Right. No video.
No, not to like, I think, because I do like studio recording and stuff. I use Pro Tools, so I'm pretty nifty with editing and audio production.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I quite enjoy about the audio only format is an element of post discussion, like editing. And I don't do it to, I don't know, cover our tracks, or you know, occasionally there might be something that's like, you know what, we'll just leave that out. I like having a reflective time to be like, wow, we're going to make this episode a bit shorter. That's something we learned, was don't be afraid to edit, don't be afraid to trim. And for me, one thing I noticed quite early on when we started doing this was, and you're probably noticing me do it now, is I will leave big gaps between my sort of words or sentences, and when I'm editing, I can feel like it feels like the audio stopped. Even like, I think there's a minute difference, like between a second and a, you know, 6/8 of a second, that feels like, oh, that's not flowing. So I like to try and create a really flowing piece of audio that works. And for me to do that along with the video would just be an absolute pain in the arse.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So I think what we thought, well, let's just keep it audio, keep it on the podcast. We'll put it on YouTube as well as an audio thing. But then what we tend to do, George will maybe take clips from the Zoom video and we'll put them up maybe as like a little teaser, or maybe here's a little bit that didn't make the episode, a little exclusive couple of minutes or things like that. So for me, it was trying to create like a smooth audio show, and rather than a bit more clunky for my ears anyway.
I don't go anywhere near into the detail that you do with editing. I just like what we do is what goes out. But there's the only one, and I feel so bad saying this, and I hope I don't get grief from anybody. Pardon me. For my 150th guest, I had Bernard Purdy. And Bernard is just, well, I don't need to mention how legendary he is, but he leaves so bloody long in between, like paragraphs, chapters, sentences. It's like, hey, and I'm like, I had to do what you do, Ben, and chop the silences out. I thought, I can't, people are going to think he's fallen asleep, and he's just thinking, he doesn't waste his words, but it doesn't come across when there's no video. So I had to, for the first time ever, I had to kind of cut some silence out and make that work a little bit better. And I feel so guilty doing it, but there we go.
Well, I think going back to sort of the direction of the podcast
please.
and you turning it from video only into both audio and video. Am I right in thinking it used to be a different name in the early days?
It was always Percussion Discussion.
Right.
Now what I did, I think way back it was, the company name I use for the clinics and stuff is North Wales Drum Promotions, and I think my Instagram page was North Wales Drum Promotions, and I thought, well, I'm not doing anything at the moment, so I swapped the name over. So I think the name is still in there somewhere or other. I'm not very good with social media, so it's probably pops up here and there. And then I thought, well, I've got to call it something, something proper. So then I came up with the logo for that. Well, somebody did. And and then I thought, well, I'll give this a go. I used to do it weekly like you guys do, but trying to keep up with a guest every week, as you can imagine, is just nigh on impossible. So I dropped it back to fortnightly about 2 years ago, and it's much more manageable now. I've got about 6 or 7 recorded, so that gives me some breathing space. And if I don't record something one week, I'm not sweating it. It's cool.
Yeah. Is there anyone you haven't had on yet that you want to have on?
There's plenty. There's plenty of those. Who would I like? Roger Taylor would be amazing. Not known for doing podcasts. Stuart Copeland is another one who's I'm hopefully part way there. Vinny Colaiuta, but he doesn't really like talking about drums too much. He's a super intelligent guy, and I think it would worry me because I'm not. Basically, I don't think I could cope with all the intelligent stuff. If I'm not talking about drums or music, I'm pretty much done. So I wouldn't want to make a fool of myself. But and I made I don't know if it was a ridiculous way. I tried to get Lars Ulrich put quite a lot of effort into that and didn't get anywhere. So there's loads of drummers who I'd love to have, but not yet anyway. I keep trying. I'm very trying.
I listened to the Steve Gadd one this morning, and that was just fantastic. Like, I don't know, and it was just nice because he is, in many people's eyes, the greatest. It's just a nice flowing conversation. It's just talking about touring in COVID times and stuff. And,
yeah. And do you know, that was an interesting one, and I have to thank my buddy John DeChristopher for getting Steve for me. John has a podcast called Live from My Drum Room. I don't know if you've seen it, and
I've seen it.
Yeah, John has an amazing history in the industry. He was vice president of Zildjian, and of course Vic Firth. So he also manages Steve Gadd, Peter Erskine, and there's a few others I can't remember off the top of my head. And I just sent John a message. I said, "Look, John," I said, "by all means, tell me to bugger off, but do you think get Gadd to do my podcast?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll ring him now." I was like, "Oh." And he said he can do it tomorrow. He said he's just come off tour with James Taylor, or no, he's just finished with Eric Clapton. He's out with James Taylor on Friday, so it's got to be tomorrow at 4. Okay. And I thought, oh no, I've got Gadd. People always ask him about the same things. I thought, I've got to dig a little deeper. What can I do that's different? So I ended up talking about double drums, which he's done a lot of with Sonny Emery, with I think with Clapton, he does double drums. So I asked him about his approach to that and his new book, and I think he really kind of warmed to me in the end. We didn't have a long time to do it, and he finished off. I don't know if you saw the end bit, George, but he was asking me about the cymbals I use. He's like, "Oh, gee, are those Karopes?" And yeah, what do you think of them? Anyway, we got to the very end, and he said, "Oh, I've enjoyed that. Thank you." He said, "Maybe we could do it again when I've got a little bit more time." And I said, "Steve, I'll think about it." He just laughed and hung up. He was lovely. What a man! What a man!
The drum camps, masterclasses, clinics. It's more clinics and masterclasses then?
It's quite a healthy mix of both, really. I how this started was I'm in North Wales, and not much happens here. Well, drummers never do anything here ever. And I think it was 2015. I always found that I always had to go to London or Birmingham to see a clinic or a masterclass or whatever. You know, Mike Dolbear is the Jedi master of these things. He's done them for years. He's brilliant at it. But there's always travel involved. And I remember moaning to a friend, I went, oh, I've always got sickening. I've always got to go here, there, wherever. He said, well, you put one on then. And in me being stubborn, I said, yeah, all right, I will. He went, go on then. So I was like, so I ended up, I booked a venue and I booked Steve White for the first one, not really having a clue what I was doing. I'd met Steve before, thankfully, and he knew I was, you know, kind of all right. And so eventually I got the PA in and I got a support act for him. And we had 100 people in from the first one, which was pretty decent. So, and then I thought, well, people really enjoyed it and they were all local who came. I thought, how can I do to get all the local drummers together? So I set up a thing called the North Wales Drummers Collective, Facebook page for anybody who plays drums in or around North Wales. And now there's close to 700 on there, I think. There's a few outsiders as well. So now I've got like a people to sell these events to. And since Steve, I must have done, I don't know, I can't even think, more than 10.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That is brilliant.
Unbelievable. That was amazing.
Definitely more than 10.
That's
When you're
I top that.
when you're booking them, are you reaching out to them, or are they like on a circuit and you're offering a venue to them on that circuit? Which comes first normally?
Oh, that can happen. I tend to reach out to them. If it's somebody I want, I will go for them and say, look, are you free? What months are you free this month? And would you consider doing this? But I listened to Thursday's episode. That won't make sense probably when this comes out, but you'll get what I'm saying. When you were really struggling to say Gabor Dornier.
I don't think I was struggling at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I met up with Gabs at the UK Drum Show, and I've done a clinic with him before in the past, and he was amazing, incredible. And he reached out and said, look, you know, I'm doing this tour. Can you fit me in? And I said, well, I can't do another clinic because it was only like 2 years ago. It was brilliant, but I'm selling to the same people. So he said, well, can we do a masterclass instead? So yeah, so it's both really. And I will get people offering things here and there. I don't always want all of it because I like to know I like to know a little bit about the drummer and their selling power. It's different from the podcast because you can end up losing a shed load of money on these things, you know. Drummers aren't cheap to put on, and I've taken, my wife will attest to this, I've taken more than a few chances in the last 9 years. So
what's the average? What are we paying these guys?
Well, between anywhere
more than 10.
More than 10. 500 is the most, up to thousands. Yeah, I won't mention names, obviously.
That's
but
fine.
No, obviously not.
And it depends what they're doing. I mean,
Has anyone you feel shortchanged you?
never. No. I felt I've shortchanged somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt that they should have been a lot more money than they were because I made a fair chunk on it as well. And I mean, one I took a chance on was, and I think you were at the show, weren't you? The UK Drum Show when Grayson was on.
Yeah.
Well, I did a sneaky little thing with Grayson where I interviewed him about 2-3 months before the show, and I said, "What are your plans?" I said, "Are you going to go straight home?" He said, "No, we're in the UK till Wednesday. We fly home from Heathrow Thursday because I want to go to London and see Abbey Road on the Wednesday." I said, "Oh, cool. Are you planning on doing anything?" He said, "Yeah, we'd like to get in maybe a drum clinic or something." I said, "Right, I'll book. What days do you want to do them?" So he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, a Monday and Tuesday free at the moment." Yep. I said, "I'll book them. I'll take them both." I hadn't even asked him how much or anything. I'll take them. So he said, "Okay, yeah." And his dad was kind of managing him at that point. And he said, "I'll put you in touch with my dad if that's all right, and you can talk the business." And I said, "Yeah." So so his dad's a lovely guy called Jeff. And he said, "Well, what do you want?" And I said, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, what if we do a drum clinic on the Tuesday night a masterclass on the Monday night. Yep, fine. And he said, well, what about some private teaching? I said, well, he's kind of on a little holiday as well. No. He said, if he's over there, he's working. I was like, I can get some private. I said, how much is the private fee? You know? So he said, it's this much per hour. And I said, yeah, okay, well, I'll sell 4-hour spots as well. So I basically had Grayson Recruitment working for 2 days solid. And it worked out great. It was brilliant in the end. So yeah.
I'm guessing not, but when you're running a drum clinic, do you ever have any input into what they're doing?
No.
Mm.
And it would be wrong of me to suggest what they did, you know.
Yeah, of course.
They're the creatives. They're used to doing it. And I don't think Grayson had done a masterclass as such before, because he kind of said, "What are we doing it?" I said, "I don't know. You're the drummer." I said, "You do what you do." And he said, "Well, okay." And I'd sold 25 tickets for that, and it was great. They loved it. Loved what he did. He actually used my drum kit. He said, "What's this drum kit?" And I had a British drum company set there. I said, "That's for the other people who want to play." "No, I want to use this one." And he actually used my sticks as well, the sticks that were on the kit, my Vic Firth sticks. "I'll just use these." So, of course, I said, I can't use those again now. So I got him to sign those for me. But no, I don't like having an input. I will ask sometimes if it's going to be a masterclass so that I can advertise what it's going to be about. Sometimes I did one with Todd Sukerman, and his masterclasses are legendary. So I didn't want to tread on Todd's toes. That was his thing, and that sold out very, very quickly. So, you know, just let them get on with it.
Well, we can move on to the final question. I'm sure you know what it is. Who's your favourite delivery company?
Tricky one, this. And I've given it more thought than I should have done. Because I've got a horror story. I had a beautiful 1950s Gretsch round badge, which I bought for £400, right? And I sent it to Gary Noonan down. I don't know if you know Gary. Yeah, I sent it to him to be rewrapped in beautiful vintage white marine pearl. And Gary's, you know, he's the ultimate professional. He redid all the bearing edges. He found some badges that were missing, made it look $1 million, put it with GPT. And can I swear on this? Because
Absolutely.
Yep.
Because he rang me up and he went, "They've only gone and fucking lost it. 2 fucking boxes." And I was like, "Oh, shit, really?" He went, "Lost your fucking drums, mate." I was like, I went, oh dear. He said, "It's insured, but, you know," he said, "I want you to have the drums." And I was like, I'd quite like that as well, you know. Anyway, they eventually, about 3 or 4 weeks later, they found them. I mean, the boxes were huge. It was going to be DPD, but I remembered that story. And I was like, no, bollocks to them. They're not having that. I have to say, my own postie's a legend, never fails. But for me, for reliability, it's got to be Amazon. All weathers, all times. You buy something, you know it's coming. Top marks to Amazon.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Controversial maybe, but there we are.
Well, you know.
And we don't get food deliveries.
It works.
Too far out, so I can't use that one.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Are you quite remote in North Wales then? Yeah.
Yeah, a little tiny village. Yeah, there's nothing much going on here. As they say, they turn the lights out when I leave. Nothing going on. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's pretty quiet. It's nice though. It's lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Has that had any advantages with like playing drums in your house in terms of not?
Well, I've still got
soundproof,
neighbours.
yeah?
I've still got neighbours. Ironically, there's a it's kind of a cul-de-sac, and there's a girl who lives over there who I used to teach. She's did a grade 8. She makes a hell of a racket. And then there's a young lad called George, another George. He's only 10. He's just doing his grade 5, and he lives up the road, so I can hear those two really, really clearly when you know, when it's not too windy. So I'm probably the quietest of the 3. That's
On a 4-house street, just 3 drummers.
not quite. There's a few more houses than that, but yeah.
Someone new moves in. We'll go to the remote North Wales countryside.
Settle down.
3
for the
drummers all
quietness.
bashing away.
Yeah.
So obviously people can find your podcast if they don't already know it. Percussion, Discussion.
Percussion Discussion Podcast, and it's from all the usual podcast providers. And yeah, we're a Percussion Discussion Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're interested in any of the clinics and masterclasses, there are a few coming up actually. That's just on Facebook, I think, and that's just North Wales Drum Promotions. I don't know how to set an Instagram page up yet, so my wife did the other one for me. So yeah, that's just on Facebook. So yeah, please check them out.
Brilliant.
And have a good show
Fantastic.
tonight.
Well, thank you very much. We'll see. I don't know what it is, but it'll be like a.
Oh,
like a
yeah.
look-
You have
When
to
you
let us
say
know.
that, do you mean you really, really don't know what it is at all? You've just...
No. I know it's a reading gig and it's tracks, but that's all I know. It came through last night. Somebody rang me. Can you do it? You need to be in Wolverhampton at 5:30. I know the money. That's the main thing. So I love it. Life on the edge. That's
Yeah, I mean,
keeps me
that
going.
really is on the edge. Jesus.
Proper
But that's
sight reading.
fantastic. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, let us know what
Right,
it is.
cool.
I will.
What would you hate it to be? Is there anything? If it was a tribute show, what would you really hate?
I don't hate anything.
Come on.
I don't know. If it was like really modern stuff, because I don't listen to really modern stuff. I don't like doing things that I don't know or genres that I don't know. Because you like to try and be a little bit authentic, don't you? When you play, or even if it's written, you still want to add a little bit of how you think it should sound. But I don't know. Honestly, country, something I've never really done. So I think I'd probably be pretty shit at that. Maybe.
Fair enough.
I don't know. Who knows?
Right.
Cool. Well, we'll let you get off so you can
Go and play your unknown show.
But yeah, send us a message. Let us know what it is.
I will do. Yeah, will do. Yeah. So thanks
Thanks
for
so
having
much
me
for
on,
your
by the
time.
way.
No, thank you.
No, thanks. Yeah, it's
Been a
brilliant.
pleasure. That was awesome. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Right, watch that reel.
Oh yeah.
Right, hang on.
Why is it so funny?
I don't
Why is it so funny?
But it's so funny. There's
Oh,
a moment, because I've watched it every day for, I'll be honest, probably more than a week. There's a bit, you can see the moment he gets the joke, you know? He's a little smirk before he turns to the camera. Ludley Riddick.
Oh wow. Okay. There we go.
Yes.
That was our chat with
Matty
Matty Roberts from the Percussion Discussion Podcast. Sorry, I won't keep that in because I just watched that reel that George sent me, and for some reason, it's fucking incredible. For some reason, I don't know.
It's so good. It's so good for so many reasons. We will discuss Matty in a sec, but first of all, you just don't expect such good comedy to come out of this guy, you know? He's like, oh,
You couldn't act it. You couldn't act it. You couldn't act that. You couldn't write it or act it.
The
Fucking
turn to the
brilliant.
camera, and then the smirk. Fucking hell! It's so funny. I watch it every day,
That's great.
Yeah.
and it hasn't got boring.
There's
yet.
a reel I watch constantly,
And it's cats making different noises.
and there's one. There's several, but there's just this one little kitten, and someone says hello, and it goes hello. This cat sort of waves and just goes hello. But it's amazing. It's
I
amazing.
think I've seen the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was.
Yeah.
There was. Have you seen the one where there's a cat that comes upstairs and goes, "Well, hi." And
Yeah.
it
Oh
sounds
yeah.
like
Yeah. Well, hi. And then there's also the one. Have you seen the one that goes? And we say this all of the time to Billy, and it's not why we called him Billy, but there's a cat, and he goes, "My name's Billy, the biggest wet willy." It's amazing. It's just this cat talking, and there's one in the
love it.
bath, and he goes, "I'm cold." Anyway,
What a time to
Hello.
be alive.
it's
with
amazing,
Instagram
isn't
reels.
it?
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Anyway,
What should we close out with?
yeah, I've been in the studio this week, mate.
Yeah.
A couple of things. Do you know the Ting Tings? Do you know they're still going?
Dean and Connor McCorkindale, they're supporting the Ting Ting soon.
Are they?
Yeah. And I messaged Dean and I said, because he put up a thing supporting the Ting Tings. I said, "What's her name though?" And then we had some back and forth banter about it.
Brilliant. That's great.
Anyway,
I think they live in Ibiza, and they're
probably
a married couple, and they just write songs. That's pretty good, isn't it? Do a big song, make loads of money, move to Ibiza, and just write music.
That's exactly what James Blunt did. He lives out there as well.
Yeah.
They probably all live on the same street. James Blunt, Annie Lennox, she's out there. Oh no, maybe she's in Mallorca. I can't remember. Anyway, it's not important. Sorry, you were in the studio with Archie Mack.
Yeah, so I'm obviously at the moment I'm sort of still got my current studio. I'm plotting to build my new one. I've started a bit of demolition work at the old one, so I'm caught in this weird place. But then throw into that, I actually have to do some work.
Yeah,
and things become quite busy. But a couple of things I've done this week. So Archie Mack has been back in the studio looking at, maybe it's an album, but we did a couple of songs. And I had the opportunity to set my kit up the night before the session. And I went big on the cymbals, boy.
You certainly did.
Certainly did. I think this did get posted to our Instagram. So if you've not seen it, go give it a follow. It's amazing. But I was like, I got loads of new cymbals, so I'm just going to put loads up. And I'll talk you through it. I had me New York New Beats hi-hats, and I had my Legacy Crash 19-inch. Then a cheeky little 12-inch Sabian Evolution Splash. Then I had my 17-inch Legacy, which I got from G Rust down the old Euros, 30% off sale. Thank you very much. Then I had my 20-inch Cluster. I had my Sweet Ride 21, and then I had my 18-inch Evolution Crash. What a lovely smorgasbord of cymbals.
A lovely.
And I think even James Gillingham commented, like a little chef's kiss at the Legacies and the Cluster. But it was fun having a bit more options. And I thought, mental to take this to a gig.
Yeah.
But it was good, fun. And I got my little snares out, some of them, and I put them all in a line and took a photo. And I ended up using my big softy on one of them and me Babylonian on the other. But lovely day. Right, but then someone got into contact about they've written a book. They want to record an audio book, right? And I've had a few people get in touch about this over the time. What they usually don't realise is that it takes fucking ages to record a book, right? And they were asking for a price. I've obviously got an hourly rate, but I'm thinking, you don't want to put people off by going, to record a 65,000 word book is going to cost you several £1,000s.
Yeah.
You also, it's very hard to explain editing to people who maybe don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And sort of mixing and prepping files for distribution. But you also don't want someone to come in and just think they can do it really quickly. So somebody think, do you know what, I'll quote them hourly, and what I like to say is come in and do a few hours and you'll see how it all works, and we'll do a chapter and you can decide if you want to continue or not. So this lovely woman came in, she'd written this novel, she'd written this book in lockdown, she's written 2 more since, and she wants to have them as audiobooks, you know, for the people who like to do their washing up and they wash the car and the hoovering and things like that. And for also the people who can't see, I imagine.
Or can't be asked with Braille.
Yeah, or people like me hate reading.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Basically, no one wants silence ever, you know.
Yeah, so don't, because if it's silent, you'll start doubting everything.
You'll start thinking.
You'll start thinking, and that can be dangerous. So she's written this, but it's a ghost story, right? I won't give too much away. But let's do the prologue and then we'll do chapter 1. And I'm just sat there, and I've got to keep my ears peeled. If she makes a mistake, we'll go back and punch in at start of a sentence or a paragraph, right? But then it started getting a little bit raunchy.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, this was very interesting. So I'm sat there, and she's reading this book out, and I've got the script in front of me, and I'm thinking, you know, this couple end up in this abandoned church. It's late at night. It's been raining. They're having a bit of an affair. Things start getting a little bit heated. Someone gets pushed up against the wall. Hands go down to undo trousers. And I'm sat there being professional, but being like, is this going to lead to penetration?
What sort of book
Did you
is
say
this?
that on the talkback, Mike? Sorry, great, but this is Clem Fandango. Can you hear me? Is this going to lead to penetration?
I'm skipping
Yeah, go
ahead,
on.
saying like, hang on. But it's just a very interesting scenario to just be
Yeah.
sort of sat there, and then this audiobook just starts getting a little bit blue, and you're a bit like, whoa, okay.
A little bit blue, Grandad.
But yeah, so that's been
Christ.
my week, really.
That's fantastic. Did it lead to penetration? Is what everyone's
No,
thinking.
it didn't. It didn't. It's not to say it
Shame.
won't,
No.
but it
Yeah.
certainly it indicated.
Heightened your spirits.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Christ. There you go.
Other than that,
what
I've
was
had a-
the? I don't even know if you'll be able to keep it in. You had a podcast, some women, and they were talking about their vaginas or something once.
Yeah, so I used to engineer this podcast, a few podcasts actually, and it was a podcast by women, for women. Don't think they'd, I won't name it, but I don't think they'd be ashamed that is what they were. Definitely wasn't tailored towards men at all.
No.
It was all about empowering and all that shit. And some of the conversations were they would hop straight into yes, very rude,
Yeah.
but then also just women things, periods and
La 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 la.
body,
la, la.
yeah, body parts and sex and all sorts. And I'm just sat in the control room like,
I think that's what's funny. The idea of, I don't know, 3 or 4 women sat around a table talking and you just having to sit there, listen and record it all,
yeah, interesting job. You see all sorts.
Very interesting. You
See
hear
all
all
sorts.
sorts. Yeah.
Yeah. What else? So the client come back. We did an album in 2023. He's coming back to do some more music, which is cool. I just finished the new Young Pine single.
Oh,
so
cool.
I assume that might be out soon. That was good fun. But yeah,
Nice.
so busy boy. And I keep smashing the 180s in. So
I'm glad.
if the music doesn't work, I'll see you on the Oki.
Yeah.
But you been all right?
Yeah, great. Excited. Got the
No, I'm yawning now.
I got the gig tonight with 80s Hi-Fi, which is
Oh yeah,
good.
yeah.
And then next week, quite a busy week. I don't know when we're recording again, but I'm sure I'll tell you. I got rehearsal with a new band Thursday, gig in London Friday, and then I got that theatre show on the Saturday. So
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
all good stuff. It's all good stuff. That's it, really.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just another reminder: please vote for the Old Blacksmith Studios in Portsmouth
Oh yeah.
Music Awards.
Is that still not done yet?
I
It's been
don't
weeks
know. I don't think the ceremony is till April, so I don't know
No.
when. Don't know when, but portsmouthmusicawards.com/vote. Go and give us a vote on there. It would be very much appreciated.
Your vote
but-
won't be counted, but you may still be charged. Is it that kind of vibe? I mean, you won't get charged.
Do you know when it? There's a something I saw on Instagram again. Reels, love them.
So
There was
good.
an image of a Facebook profile of a guy called Bill Payer, and someone had messaged him and said, "Is it all right if I enter this competition?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, go for it." Please ask Bill Payer before entering.
That's good. That's very good.
Good.
I like
bit of
the one
comedy
where there
gold.
was an athlete who won a race, and his name was Aaron Farr, and it was like, all right, mate, don't show off. Run a long distance race, and his name was Aaron Farr. I run far. Right, that'll do.
That'll do. Let's get out of here.
Let's
Have a
get
good
outta
week,
here.
everyone listening. Thank you for tuning in, as always. I hope it kept your housely chores nice and occupied.
Yep.
Or if you were just sat in a dark room listening,
Get help.
get help. Please find a hobby. Really do
Yeah. Anything. Stamp
Something
collecting.
must need cleaning.
Yeah, if this is the best part of your day, something's gone seriously wrong. So, yeah.
Thank you, but something is wrong. Seek professional
thank
help.
you, but get help.
We'll see you next time. Bye, George.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Drum and Drummer. You can find us on Instagram at Drum and Drummer Podcast. And you can send us an email to drumanddrummerpod@gmail.com. Remember, just pick up the sticks and twat it.